Hey. Welcome to Delite Side of Life with your host, Delite. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. Had an awesome week, awesome and productive week. And yeah, I'm optimistic, very optimistic for the year ahead. Yeah. And I hope you've had a great week too. A wonderful day so far. And that you're just smiling, sometimes that's all you need, or all you need to just be thankful for, that you are able to smile and be alive, man. It's been a rough past year and a rough beginning of the year, but at least we at stage one. There's some freedom now. We can move around, people can drink, those who do, and yeah, things can get back to normal in a way of some sort. Vaccines are coming. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, as long as we can just get back to life and living again. Yeah, sorry for the mood, but it kind of sets the tone of where I'd like to go. And that is mental illness, and specifically bipolar disorder. The reason why is because I am bipolar, and I'm bipolar type 1. And bipolar is defined as a chemical imbalance, right? In the head, in your brain, of course, it's a mental illness. So, chemical imbalance in the brain, and it's referred to as a mood disorder. And so, basically, you would need medication or certain coping mechanisms so that you can function like most people do, because you just think differently, which results in you reacting differently or acting differently. And yeah, so usually treatment or medication of some sort is needed in order for you to be normal, in a sense. Yeah, for lack of a better word. Yeah, but just be like the majority of how people are. And it's a small percentage of the population, but I mean, we're so many in this world, so it seems like it's quite a lot. And so it is quite common. You'd find in families, I think everyone has someone with bipolar. And yeah, so I think it's very important that we educate ourselves on this, and not base everything on a stigma mindset or understanding, because a lot of us really don't know what it is, and we compare it quite a lot to bad weather. Oh, that weather ki bipolar, or hey, that girl, bipolar, just because she's your ex and she's not acting the way you want her to act, or she's happy towards some other person but very angry towards you. Yeah, so yeah, what brought this along is a post that I came across, which was on my timeline, and it was in regards to the 2010 World Cup. And so in this post, this person was saying how much of an awesome year it was. 2010 World Cup, definitely makes perfect sense that, yo, man, the things that happened that year, like, I mean, just the event itself, life changing, and something we've never experienced before in this country, having all these nations here at once, and all these superstar soccer players, and the whole world has just had their eyes on South Africa at the time. But when I was looking at this post, I realized that I just can't relate, not at all, because 2010 is honestly the worst year of my life, and I don't think nothing can ever top that, and the reason why is because I experienced depression that year, and I had no idea that that's what I'm going through, and which made it worse, I think. And the reason why I experienced depression is because I'm bipolar, but according to my diagnosis, I'm not necessarily supposed to have depression, like guaranteed. It's not always the case. It could happen depending on how the treatment works with you, how well you cope with this, whether or not you know what I mean, you heal properly, in a sense. So the year before I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1. And the reason why depression exists, because bipolar, let me just put it in the sense of what bipolar originally was called, what it's formerly known as. It was known as manic depression. So literally in that word, it says what it is. You manic and you depressed. So you hyper and you low, right? High and low. So the thing is, I didn't know that my low could be as bad as depression. And I think it would have helped if it was still called manic depression at the time or forever, because it really is clear of what it is. Instead of just high and low, it's literally depression. But with type 1 means that you are manic most of the time. Your episode, how we notice that you have something that's different and you need to be admitted to hospital, is because you are very manic. You are very hyper, energetic, you have a flight of ideas, you're not making much sense, but you're out here. And it's like your energy is just too much for us to handle and, for us to be around you. Therefore, we need to admit you to a psychiatric ward or something and get you dealt with so that you can fit back into society. That's type 1 for the most part. And once I was admitted, that's all I knew it as. And I only realized later on, after being depressed, that there's the possibility of depression with type 1, which I experienced. Let me go to type 2. Type 2 means you are depressed for the most part. The total opposite of manic. You're low, you're sad, and that's the main thing that defines your disorder, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, bipolar disorder, if you want to. Yeah, that's what you define by, mainly depressive episodes. And you are manic sometimes, and it's referred to as hypermanic because it's not as severe as type 1's manic. The reason why it's called hyper, or the reason why it's noticeable, is because you are a very low person. You're usually very sad person. You seem sad, and therefore, as soon as you have a bit of energy or you're a little manic, it's noticeable. With me, on a regular day, without having an episode, my type of energy on someone who's type 2, if they were to have my normal energy, it would show. You'd be like, yo, man, what's up with this guy? Did you smoke drugs? What's going on? And that's kind of like where hypermanic is. It's not too severe. Like you're probably just gonna be disruptive to your own life. You're gonna have bad spending habits. You're gonna just do a bit of reckless behavior, but you're not necessarily gonna stop your whole the whole mall from functioning. Type 1's type of manic or mania is severe. It's like, yo, bro, that guy is loose, and yeah, so it's like you could stop a lot of stuff from occurring, right? So anyway, so I experienced this thing and I went to hospital. It's like, according to me, as long as I am not manic, I'm okay, right? You're okay as long as you're not manic. Anything else is cool. You're not going to be disruptive. And that's what I noticed. And that's why I would say that depression goes unnoticed a lot of the time, is because it doesn't interfere with you. That person's quiet. They're in the corner. They're dealing with their own stuff. Leave that guy. He's always there. Leave him. Don't worry about him, right? And that's what I did. I was quiet. I was just in my own corner. I was at home. I was different, but I wasn't disruptive. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's all that matters. So every time I'd go back to the doctor, to my psychiatrist and psychologist, they would say, so how are you doing today? I'd be like, I'm okay, I'm good. Thinking that, when they'd ask me, like, how's your month been? Has there been any weird stuff happening? I'd be like, my mind is just thinking, oh, you're referring to manic things. Nothing manic has happened. I've been behaving. I've been taking my medication. And as long as I've been doing that and nothing manic has been happening, I'm answering this question correctly by saying I'm okay. So I'd always return home and continue being this way. And the reason why 2010 was the worst year of my life is because not only was I feeling different because of the medication I was taking, because this medication is literally meant to make me do the opposite of what I do. So you manic, so we need to bring you down. But the other thing is that I lost a lot of my life. So you lose your friends in a way, especially those who don't understand what happens. No one really wants to be associated with someone who's known to be crazy or have gone to like a psychiatric ward. And I mean, that's the stuff you usually laugh at or you find like weird, or nah, I don't want to associate myself with that, especially being a teenager at the time. And so I lost that. I lost a lot of that. But fortunately, I did have my family and stuff around. But I even lost the girlfriend that I had, because I was dating her before I was admitted to hospital. And, you know, sometimes that's all you look forward to. You just look forward to, oh man, I don't have this, I don't have that, or I don't know what's going on, but I do know that person. I do know that person's face. I do know that person's love. And you come back to that person and it's not the same. And they make it evident that they don't want to associate themselves with you. There could be many other reasons behind this, but in that moment, at that time, that's all you know. You just know rejection based on the fact that I went to hospital for something that's beyond my control. Because I didn't take any drugs. I didn't take this. I didn't do anything abnormal to how I do things or what I know the rules to be. Although some people's episodes are triggered by the use of substance, but it's just to basically get them there quicker. They're already bipolar or whatever, or they already had a mental illness, and using this substance just elevates them and then gets them there much quicker, right? So anyway, so it was a rough year. And I only got through it because I didn't know how to get out of it the way most people do. Not most people. Bad. Not most people. My bad. But the way a lot of people do, which is suicide. I literally tried to kill myself and I couldn't. Not because of willpower or whatever. It's literally I just didn't know how to do it. But I think if you really want to do something, you'll figure it out, right? Internet wasn't really where it is today. So I'm thinking maybe I should have gone on Google. Maybe that wasn't an option back then. But I would have figured it out. Maybe I wanted an easy death. I didn't want to like poison myself and be choking and man, it's too much, you know. But yeah, I couldn't literally try and do what I was trying to do. I don't want to say what it is. Sorry. I didn't want to say what it is because yeah, sometimes you could give people ideas of what to do. Because I don't condone suicide, although I do understand it. So that's what I tried to do. I didn't manage to do it. I failed dismally at dying. So I thought, yes, I can't live properly. I'm bad at that. And I'm also bad at dying. So basically I was like, yo man, if I can't do this death thing, let me just figure out this living thing. Let me figure out what's up. Maybe I should stop taking my medication. I don't know, but let's figure this thing out. And on top of that, I can't go to my doctors and say, yo, there's something going on here, because I don't know that there's something going on. I literally thought that this is how people think. Truth is, a lot of people do think this way. A lot of people are sad every day and think that life should be lived in a very chilled way, very somber, don't care. Like the energy is very low. But it's different for someone who's never been there before. That's what makes you depressed. Because my medication was meant to bring me from a high I've never been to. But highs are good. Highs you won't complain about, especially if you know what's going on. I didn't use a substance, so I wasn't like lost in the high. I wasn't over paranoid or whatever. I went there with my thinking, and I was given medication to say, "Yo, calm down." But the thing is, they say you're born with bipolar, right? So if I'm born this way and I've always been a bit energetic and my thoughts have always been a bit different, and the only thing different with me on a normal day and me on the day of the episode is the fact that I overdid it, or I really figured something out that made me go like hysterical. So therefore, when you're giving me medication, I'm thinking you're gonna make me go back to what I know and where I what I'm familiar with. But the thing is, medication is designed for the normal mind, for the normal wavelength of thinking at this energy, at this level. This is how many hours you'd sleep. I've never slept the normal hours, for instance. Okay, during my episode, it was even worse. I didn't sleep at all, like zero. Those are some of the other symptoms you can see if someone's having an episode, just by the way. Anyway, so here I am using medication designed for something I've never been before. I've never thought in this way before. So I went from a high to passing where I used to be to going lower than that. And that ultimately is depression. Depression is literally feeling something you've never felt, the sadness you've never felt, and losing that one important thing, or those things that matter to you, and you feel like there's nothing to live for, or you know what I mean. Why should I wash? That's why some people don't even wash or get excited for the day, because there's nothing to live for. I have nothing, important to me. And I felt that way because my main thing, my biggest asset is my mind. I live through it, everything, my imagination. I could stay in the room or the house all day forever and I'd be okay. But I lost it because of this. And that's what led me to feeling depressed, because this medication was literally making me not access the type of mind I have, and the one I'm familiar with, and therefore I couldn't even write a song anymore, which I would usually turn to. Like when my dad passed away, that's when I started writing, so that's how I knew how to deal with certain things. I just let it out. I speak a lot because I let out my ideas, but I can't speak a lot if I'm not thinking a lot or thinking in the way that I usually do. So that's what happened, and that's why I felt depressed. Like I said, I felt the need to have to just figure this thing out because I couldn't commit suicide. I wasn't able to. And therefore, you know what? Let's find a way to live. And I literally started changing my mindset. I started thinking and believing that these drugs or this medication is just going to make me act normal, but it's not going to change my mindset. And literally that's what started altering everything. That made me like, yo, okay, I see a change now. Okay, now I don't mind waking up. Okay, I don't mind washing now. Okay, this is kind of cool. And until I literally got to where I am today, it's just my mindset. Literally, I didn't change the medication. Still the same medication I took back then when I was depressed. Not saying it's this way for everyone, and I'm not saying this is the solution for people around you in your environment, your family who are still dealing with it or struggling with it. Sometimes they're literally getting the wrong medication. Sometimes they have issues and other things that have happened to them that need solving. So they can take all the medication, they can get all the doctors that they need, the best doctors, but if they don't solve that issue or deal with it, it can't be fixed. And you can't also force someone to deal with something, especially if it's not your trauma or your problem. You can't. It's very unfair in many cases. Yeah, so I guess that this would explain why so many people refuse to take medication, and would rather just be what we say is crazy, like, because this medication makes them feel worse. Crazy is not bad, especially when you're the person who's in it. This is why people gravitate towards the use of substances, drugs, because it's this euphoria that comes with it. Dopamine is a very strong thing, and it exists in all of us. And all that drugs do is just help you access it because you're struggling to do it on your own. And all that someone with bipolar does is they do it naturally without the use of a substance. They just can get there by not using substance, which is the medication. They naturally just get there. And so it makes perfect sense that why would I rather feel sad than feel happy? Just because my doctor said it, just because my mother's complaining about it, just because my family are like, no, please do it for us, but they happy and I must be sad so that they can be happy. And then when am I being prioritized? And that's really literally the mindset of a lot of people. Fortunately for me, I have a very supportive family who've always just been there for me, helped me through this journey. I had good medical care, so that wasn't a problem. As soon as an issue was there, like I could get admitted, and the psychologist and psychiatrist could observe me properly, make sure I'm okay. And also education. I've just been very well informed. Sometimes it could even be your background, what you believe in, religiously, spirituality. Some people, depending on what home you come from, they'll believe that it's witchcraft, and therefore it takes you longer to deal with it. And I'm not saying that it has nothing to do with having a special power or whatever. I'm not saying that. It could be, because there is a difference. But I haven't explored that. I haven't explored whether or not I have a different thing compared to most people. Yes, I do think different. Yes, I am more active. People would say very intelligent in certain ways, blah, blah, blah. But I know that going the Western medication route is really what helped me. Maybe because I'm familiar with it. And therefore, I didn't feel like I'm being forced to do something I don't know about or I'm not comfortable with. And maybe that alone, just that mindset alone, is what made it okay and made me deal with it. Maybe people who are more traditional in the African sense and believe more in spirituality, maybe they should go that way because that's what they believe in, and they will feel more comfortable doing that and not being. And maybe they won't feel comfortable if they're being forced to go the Western way, and because mom goes to church and she's Christian and she believes in Western medication. And sometimes that miscommunication, that imbalance is what causes the problem with a lot of people. Yeah, so I'd like to just touch on one other thing, because I myself, who has been suicidal, who has been depressed, who is bipolar, I've judged before I was aware that I am bipolar. And this is when my cousin, my late cousin, committed suicide. I was still a teenager at the time, and my mom had to go to the funeral. I was made aware that it happened in my aunt's home, his mother, and so my mother had to go for the weekend, and I was so insensitive about it, and I really didn't understand. And I was like, man, who takes their own life? Like, what's that, bro? Like, what's your excuse? Come on, dog. Life can never be that hard. I was so insensitive that during that weekend, I did what a lot of kids do, and that's, mom is out of town, party. So with the fellas, we had a good time, bruh, which we were not allowed to have. I wasn't allowed to be hosting no party at my house, especially at my mother's house, especially with her not being around, especially her going to a funeral. Sometimes in the black home, the reason why you're not at the funeral is just because you couldn't go. That's all. Not because it has nothing to do with you. So if I'm mourning this person's death, or over there, and you are over here, you still need to find a way to mourn, even if it just means not having a party. That's enough. That's good enough. So that's what happened, and I didn't understand. I didn't get it, and that's why I didn't care much. And I think that's a lot of people's attitude when it comes to suicide. And another moment that came about is after my diagnosis, after understanding, after trying to commit suicide, when I was listening to a double HP interview on radio with a friend of mine, and he spoke about, at the time he was, okay, he was obviously still alive, my bad. I almost explained that he was alive when I said that I was listening to an interview. RIP, double HP. So he mentioned that he attempted like 3 suicides, I believe, if I remember correctly. And my friend was like driving, and then he's like, yo, man, like, what the hell? Reacting the same way I reacted with my cousin. Like, why would you do that? Why would you try that? Like, that doesn't make sense. And I had to like tell my friend that I understand it. I get it. I've been there. And I forgot what I told him at the time, but I've since then I've found a better way, I believe, to explain it, and I hope you can understand it. Not to necessarily accept it, that's on you, but to understand where some people come from. When people commit suicide, I believe, or where I come from, and certain similar situations I've dealt with other people, is that they committing suicide because they have already lost their lives. Right now they dead men walking. A dead man walking is all that's happening. They seem alive, they smiling, they putting on a happy face, but honestly it's sadness, it's death. You already feel like death. The reason why, the reason why a lot of people don't get it is because the reason why you could lose everything you've ever had or feel like you are dead is because sometimes all you value or all you hold close to your heart is 1 or 2 things, and that's it, which is not a good decision, but a lot of people make that decision subconsciously. And that's why you'd find some people seem to have killed themselves because they lost their relationship. My girlfriend dumped me, yo, I'm gonna end my life, and he ends his life. But it's not just his girlfriend, it's just the fact that at this moment when I killed myself, all I had left, the only hope, the only thing that made me say, you know what, the fact that I lost my job, the fact that I don't speak to my mother anymore, my family, or the fact that my friends are like fake and I found out, or the other friend slept with my ex and yeah, he's an asshole. You know, at least this person right here, I still have. This person still gets me, you know, as imperfect as they might be, man, but I still have some hope. There's someone who still sees hope in me, and maybe I will get a job. Then I'll get back to having 2 things I value in life and 2 things I live for. Then maybe me and this person will also have a kid, and then I'll have another thing to live for. But right now, all I have is this person. Thing is, with most people, we have a lot of things. Even if you have a job that you don't necessarily like, so it's not about the job per se that you're like, yo, I have the job of my dreams, but sometimes it's because that job you have colleagues at that job that you are very well acquainted with and you miss and you can't wait to see. And then you have a lunchtime that sometimes people just look forward to, the lunchtime at work. And that's enough to live for some days. That's enough to make you carry on because you're like, yo, I can't wait for that 1 hour when I chill with some of my colleagues, or that other colleague's going to tell me about the drama or the gossip that's happening, just to get my mind off my bad reality. And what happens to people when they usually commit suicide from a depressed mindset is that I've lost so much that I only have this 1 or 2 things. I have 1 or 2 things, and once I lose these things, I literally have nothing to live for. Honestly speaking, if all of us could just lose everything we ever lived for or cared for, and sometimes it's just your mindset, sometimes it's just your ideas, like, you know, sometimes you could lose a lot of things, and people have lost basically everything, but they still had something. Some people still had religion, just your religion alone. You still believe that there's a God and you're God and you're okay. And that's what, if you were to lose everything, honestly speaking, not to say that you're gonna commit suicide, but it's a thought that would probably cross your mind, and that's where most people come from. And at that point you usually also lose religion, and that's why suicide is not the worst idea, because you don't feel like you'll be punished for it, or even if I am punished for it, Is it really worth me suffering on earth so much just so I can be rewarded after this? It's like you just start making sense of everything. And I just thought it's important that I could get into the subject and explain a bit of it. Though my ideas are here and there and the thoughts are here and there, I did say flight of ideas. I am bipolar anyway, after all. But yeah, I just wanted to like let you in on some of the dynamics. This is a long subject. This is a deep subject that can never be fully covered, but I think we can at least have a bit of an understanding and not stigmatize it as much anymore, and maybe we could just spread the message and just find better ways of dealing with it. And I would like you to also know that I'm doing well. I wasn't doing well for like the first and second year, but ever since then, about 2011, I've always been healthy. I've always been okay. The biggest success I would say is the fact that I always remember, or I always have to remind myself that I have to tell people I'm bipolar in order for them to know. And so sometimes I'm around situations where people are speaking on this thing and not aware that I am this thing. There's a situation where someone was actually literally comparing someone to saying that this person must be bipolar. You know, and I was just laughing along because yeah, I'm about that life. I'm about humor. And then he kept on going on, and then I asked the guy, like, do you know what, like, why would you say that? Like, please explain why she has bipolar. And he had no idea, that I am bipolar, and I'm well informed on it too. And so, and I won't shy away from trying to inform you, or I won't shy away from my status, if we call it that. Yeah, so anyway, and he was like very, very, very misinformed, and it gave me a lot of pleasure to be like, yo man, at least there's someone here I can assist. And yeah, I hope that he changed his view on what it is or whatever, and I just hope we can all just do that, moving forward. And I hope we cover this subject again, because there's other factors too that I'd really like to delve into. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. Yeah, and just stay healthy, stay educated, stay informed, stop judging so much, but enjoy life. Most importantly, enjoy life. And yeah, have a great week ahead. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. This was another episode of Delite Side of Life. Peace.